How's it going, guys? We're going to take a quick look at the charts, and we're going to start off with Bitcoin. But first, I just want to mention that people have been asking about the indicator, and I mentioned this before. And for those people who sign up with my Bybit ref link and uses that account as the main trading place, I will share the indicators to them. All right, that's sort of a win. Get some commissions of whatever you trade, and you get to use whatever I have built. And if you just wanna sign up to support, right? It's decent. Now, just before I start the analysis, I just want to go over sort of the indicator and what we have on it, just so people can decide for themselves if it's worth the hassle. So basically, it's based mostly on buying, but we also have sell signals, but I don't pay as much attention to the sell signals as the buy signals. So the indicator is more built to find good places to take entries, especially for longs, right? So let me start off with the high time frame, just to mention this. So when it comes to high time frame and indicators, usually only the most extreme side you get the signals, and the signals are extremely important, but they are very rare, right? So you only get sort of the buy signals at the end of a cycle, especially for the buy signals. Sell signals might come slightly more often, but when you get the sell signals, you often get a pullback on a weekly, even if it's not, the biggest, right? So you cannot really, you don't want to base your trading on the sell signals. You just aware of what's going on in terms of price action and potentially buy a dip. All right, so you can see here on the chart below here, as we started to get some bearish divergence, some small sell signals in terms of these triangles, right? And then not before you're getting the bomb, which is the most important buy signals, and then you're having this hill, which just shows sort of how far we're getting pulled away from the Bollinger Bands, right? So when we're getting above 60, we usually very extreme pulling away from the Bollinger Band. The more you pull away, so if you pull extremely far away, that means that we are due to a big bounce. And then once you get the sell signals, as in bomb or triangle or divergence, bullish divergence signal, it means that you're having the reversal formation. Okay, so the green is when we're pulling away from the Bollinger Bands, that we're getting extreme away from what's the average price. And then once you get the bomb, you're getting the reversal in terms of candlestick formation, and that's when you really want to look for a good entry. So you can see how it actually nailed the peak of bottom here exactly at 16,000 basically, right? So you had that, and then before that in the cycle in 2019, you can see how we actually had on 3,700 we had that as well. Now we didn't get that, we only get a very small signal on the Corona dump. I'm not really sure exactly why, probably because we also had it before that. And then you can see some of these decent sell signals, right? So you're having some good sell signals at the top of these ones on a weekly. As you can see, once we had this one, you had a small dip, right? Once you had these these hammers, you had a small dip lower, right? It never really, you don't really want to look for a top. You just understand once you get that signal, often you're getting at least a few more weeks of prolonged either sideways or whatever. Okay, so weekly, that's weekly. Daily, you can see how they're very good as well on a daily. So on daily you get them much more often, and on a daily you can see that each single of, or basically all of these, whenever you get a triangle or bomb especially, is very good. But once you get them, that's when you want to sort of look to scale back in, right? So it's very rare as well on a daily, so you have to be sort of cautious in the terms of that. You don't need to wait for them always, right, before taking a long entry. That's not what I'm saying. But once you get the signals in terms of pulling away from the Bollinger Bands, as we see here at the bottom, you can see how, and once we got towards the 50 mark right there, at the bottom at 57K, you really saw a great bounce. Okay, and then you see here as well, once we go moving sideways here, once we had that sell-off towards the 25,000, you had this massive hill as well, right, from the Bollinger Bands, and then we had a lot of buy signals lower. Okay, and then you see what happens afterwards, right? So daily is very important, and then you have having a lot of sell signals, right, because it just shows divergence. So I don't really care about these sell signals on a daily, unless, right, so often you will see that if there's a long time period between the sell signals, often they are very accurate. So just want to mention one thing, and if you're using these indicators, that if you see this kind of price action now moving in towards sort of a triangular fashion and you're getting sell signals, they're never valid. You can see it right there, they're never valid. The most valid sell signals, the same goes right there, right? So often when you get a compression in terms of PA, usually not a good sell signal. Good sell signals are usually when price extends and then does a candle formation, and then you get the sell signal. Okay, that's when they're very good. So you can see right there, we can argue this is a decent enough. Okay, here as well is okay. So usually you want to see an extension, and once you get the extension, that's when you want to see the sell signals for it, to be something you want to act on, or else you're just sort of being cautious once you see them. Okay, and then we're having, and you can see 8 hour, 4 hour, they're all very good, to be honest, right? So an 8 hour sell signal, you can see how we had the peak of bottom right there, and then we had another bottom right there, right? So you can also trail in terms of, adding first bite right there, and then if you get another one, you deploy a lot more capital, okay, and whatnot. So here you can see a good example again of how when you move in a triangular fashion into resistance, you never want to listen to sell signals, okay, because it's just based on candle formation, right? So it just means that price is like this, and then you get a candle up, close below, right? And that's the sell signal, and then price sort of continues, right? So they're never valid in those terms, right? So as I said, this indicator system is mostly built upon taking longs and then just having the sell signals just to be cautious, right? Or if you're trading in a range, so using the range. Right, so if we expanded slightly higher now and then had a sell signal, that would be potentially something to act upon, right? So you can see on the 8 hour here how important each of these buy signals have been, right? So I can mark each of these bottoms to you. Right there you had one, right, and then we had right there you had another sell signal, buy signal, right, and then you had the absolute bottom. So you can see how important they have been, okay, and then you had some divergence right there, which is not extremely strong, but decent enough. Then you had right there, you had some 8 hour signals. You had them right there. This is not valid because usually I want to have the hill and those together, right? So this is just, when you're seeing sideways price action like this, often, it just shows the sort of divergence, right? So if I take this away to you on a weekly, just to give some context, here, so you can see how we had each of the bottoms being taken here based on these indicators, right? So you can see on the weekly as well, very decent, the peak of bottom, right? So you had a lot of movement away from the Bollinger Bands. We were very extreme, but it's not before you had this candle formation at the bottom here before it actually gave the signal, right? So it's the combination of it, and then you're having the vertical green here is just basically smart money COT data, or a proxy of it, and it just shows when smart money is potentially buying and potentially selling. Okay, it's just there to give sort of a guidance. You don't act upon it, you're just aware of it. So usually when you get a lot of green, we're getting close to a bottom or close to a top. Okay, so that's sort of the main indicator, and then we're having this one, which is basically the range. It shows range highs, range lows, and then creates what is called a hot box of the wick at the bottom, right? So you understand. So because price always moves to the highs and to the lows, and when price is moving to the highs, you often want to take profit, and when it moves to the lows, you want to get back in or look for potential longs, right? So when you're having the combination of these two, right, so you're having the range lows or range highs, if you move that and get a sell signal, they're getting extremely important. Okay, and then I also have the same here for the indicator. Here is built, this is a seasonal pattern. It shows when the potential tops and bottoms are, and then you can see and the extreme, right? So it's the extreme. So the longer time period before you're having these major lows and highs, the more important they are. So you can see that you're having usually from, as I said, from end of August all the way towards March, we're having a lot of trends, and from March to August, we usually stuck within some kind of a range. Not always, right? But sometimes we do that. So it shows sort of when to expect a potential bottom. So on this seasonal indicator, you can see here at the bottom. So we're expecting sort of from September towards October here to have a bottom, right? So you can see a proxy here will be sort of from middle of September towards middle of October. That 1 month period is when you really want to start going very long. Okay, and then you're having sort of the major high will probably be around January, right? And then a potential dip, and then again a rally before we're going to a contraction phase. Right, so I use that only for daily and weekly chart just to see sort of the seasonality of where we potentially are moving. And then below here, we're having COT data. It's the change of contracts between longs and shorts. So it basically just shows when, if it's extremely low, you want to buy. If it's extremely high, you potentially want to look for sells, right? Or sells, you don't really care about selling, right? It's like you understand that you have to take profit at some point or whatnot. You have to use a completely different strategy. So often when it comes to selling, you want to just look for sort of bearish divergence over a high time frame. But while on buying is what is important to us, and you want to buy when you're getting the COT on the extreme side. So the extreme side is usually below this sort of support. You can see where it's been before, right? So you can see here on October, on summertime, this major bottom, you actually had a COT data at the most extreme end, and you can also see buying, right? So this means change of contracts. So there was a lot of change of contracts, bullish, right? A lot of buying or change of contracts from sells to a lot of buying coming into the market. And then you also have the seasonal low as a confluence, right? And then this marks sort of the bottom for this major rally. So this is a high time frame analysis. You can also see here at once we sold off below here, you can actually see here that the change of contracts wasn't too bad in terms, right? So people are still holding, right? Bitcoin, you can see that the change of contracts are they're not changing to shorts, right? So this is, this, I didn't mention this. So the COT data is actually smart money, right? So it shows smart money, the commercials, the hedgers, right? So the smart money, only the smart money. We don't include anything else from the COT data, only the commercials. So you can see here that we had a dip here in the COT data from high back below the zero, which is sort of the equilibrium, whatever you want to call it. And then below that, you had that drop below. It didn't change from into to selling contracts here, so, right? So that's still sort of bullish. And below here, right? And then you also have the seasonality. If you look at my seasonality indicator, you can see that it was about to have a top around February, March, okay, and then you had a dip and potential low here in towards April, right? So it was a bit more prolonged, but it doesn't really matter because you can see that this is within a contraction period where we can actually have sort of these short-term lows and short-term highs in this time period, but it doesn't really matter actually until you get in towards a potential dip in July before you're getting the August sell-off, right? So into August all the way back into October usually is pretty bearish for Bitcoin, right? So you're having now, you can sort of say that we had a dip in terms of March, right? So from March we're gonna had a dip, and from that dip we're expecting a high in towards summer months, okay, from seasonality, and then you're using the CO2 data as confluence, and this builds gives you sort of the higher time frame. Okay, so when I have this now on, I watch this usually on a daily chart. Give me a second there. So they load up. So on a daily, take these off. So I watch these on a daily, and I often keep these indicators as well on a daily. And then I have the daily 8-hour, and then this is usually on a 4-hour chart. Okay, and then I just sit there and I look and wait for these buy signals, as I mentioned. And if you look on the 1 hour as well, it was pretty decent here. If you look at the bottom, you can see how we're starting to see some buy signals on these levels and back here. So we had actually decent buy signals at this price point, and then we had actually a dip, a sell-off. And then once that was reclaimed, you know, even though it was actually wrong on this one, on this candle formation, but we understand from the other charts here, which I'm going to show you now. I showed you on a 4 hours. Actually, I wanted to show you on the 1 hour, but that doesn't really matter. The 8-hour is the most accurate. 4 hour is slightly less accurate, right? And then you're having scalps for the 1 hour. And you can see how once you're starting to get these buy signals, you just have to combine them. So you often want to have the peak, right? So you want to have these hills, you want them above 50. Once these hills or the green tags are above 50, and you're getting these signals, these buy signals are usually a good time. But it's not always you need to, how can I say, you don't need to catch the peak or bottom. Usually you won't get that, right? So you understand that. So let me give you an example. So remember when we were discussing this previously, that we had this top, we had a few sell signals right at the top here. So if I just put this indicator right there, you can see that they had the sell signal above here, right? So at the top. When you have that on the top there, and we were expecting potentially to fill in this void, okay, you have this sort of potential SR. Once you get into that SR, this is where we're starting to get this strong buy signals. Okay, so you had that massive sell-off, took out the stops below, closed the void, but still you can see that we were in sort of a compression phase, and then we built this base and we started to pump and expand. And you can see how on the indicator it actually showed all of these bottoms, even though some of these we didn't catch the exact bottoms. Okay, but it's still very good to use for trading. Okay. And especially if you combine it with high time frame, right? So you want to, if you're potentially getting 8-hour signals, you know you're gonna last, right? So once you're getting the high time frame signals, you can move over to lower time frame signals. And these ones, they are working extremely well as well for altcoins. Okay, so let's see here on a few altcoins, just to give some example. We can use let's use Solana. I think it was a pretty good one. So here on an 8-hour chart, you can see how we have this massive green hill, right? All the way back up into 85 was the absolute bottom. And then you had the next hill here, which we actually didn't get a buy signal. This on an 8-hour, right? You're having the exact bottom of it, okay? And then you can go to 4-hour. You can see sort of slightly more detail. You're having another buy signal right there before the expansion, right? And then you had a lot of buy signals within all of these lows. So you can see that these lows gives buy signals, the signals stop, and then it comes back when we're getting the next low. So I think these are extremely good and very strong indicator. You can use that for Rune as well, and I shared that chart. If you go to the 8-hour chart, look at this, right? Extremely. So you're having this extreme all the way into 86 on the hill. We're starting already to get some buy signals above it due to the candlestick formation. But we understand that once you have this, you get a green hill, and then we had 4 signals right there. And we understand that this is range low as well, right? So this is the core of it. This is the range, this is the range low, the wick formation. As you can see there, we're building liquidity. And once you get those buy signals, you know, you can just enter with a sort of closed eyes. And we also have, we can use a lot of this. We're having FTM had some great signals as well on the 8-hour. Also on the 4-hour, you can see how basically caught the exact bottom of a lot of these coins, right? So you can use right there. We had sort of a buy signal. We had another one right there. Okay, we had another buy signal right there. We had another one right there at the absolute bottom of the chart, and then we move up. But of course, you know, without understanding of price action, you won't get anywhere, because the basis of all of this at the end of the day is understanding market structure, which is actually very simple. I mentioned this 100 times. Consolidation, expansion, whatever price does, when price comes back into the prior consolidation, either on top of it or below it, doesn't really matter. Whatever price does and creates some kind of a consolidation, that's where you look for these buy signals, and then you're looking for price to expand back up that inefficient leg that has been created. And that's the basis of it, right? So you're using that indicators to give you the buy signal, so you don't need to think about it, right? You can see it. When you see it visually, it's much more easier to enter and manage than, you know, having to decide for yourself without seeing something. So we had the same here for this is a 4-hour on near. You can see, you know, we had this was this was a buy signal. This is a 4-hour chart. Keep in mind, this was a buy signal, right? This was a buy signal. You know, this as well was a buy signal. You can see each time price moves up, it's pretty decent. It's extremely decent in my opinion. We can do that for AVAX the same. When you getting, we actually had a very strong buy signal right there, which, you know, you could have managed, meaning that you could have entered, it moved up, maybe take profit, stop in break even, well, it doesn't really matter. But then you had another buy signal slightly lower right there, and then you had another buy signal right there, and then we can arguably say that we had a buy signal right there. Okay, so the reason why you're getting less and less, because as price is moving sideways, we're moving less and less away from the Bollinger Bands, because the Bollinger Bands are following price. Okay, so you will never get, you can't get more buy signals as price is moving sideways and higher, because the Bollinger Bands are following price. Okay, so you always get less and less as you move. Only if price would now to nuke, right? So if AVAX were to sell off, let's say to $20 mark, that would give a new Bollinger Band signal, but you can't get them from going sideways. Okay, it's only the initial extreme price movement, right? So it's the price movement, just so you understand how this works, it's the price movement from this high to this low for a very short period of time that creates these green tags. Okay, and then it's not before you're getting the price action behavior and you get these bombs, triangles, and bullish divergence. Okay, and then you can use them. So it's the movement from this high to this low of a very short period of time that creates this green below. Okay, so just understand how the mechanics behind it. Okay, so this is extremely good indicator. We used it for Engine Coin as well. You can see how you had this massive buy signal. This is even on a daily chart. You had one signal actually slightly higher before the movement, but it's the combination of the green and the bomb that gives sort of the best one. But usually when you're starting to get this movement away from Bollinger Bands on the very extreme side, because my settings is set to very extreme, and then you can see how it actually moves, right? So you can see both there and at this price point you're getting extreme, and this is a daily. If I take you to the 8-hour chart, you will get more detail, and you can actually see sort of where you're getting these massive and very good buy signals, each of them on the Pico lows, the exact lows. Okay, extremely good indicators. It's not actually before you're getting the massive combination of this. You can use this on you see Ethereum bottom in 2019-18. You had the absolute bottom here in 2022 as well. If I take you into 8-hour chart here, or even let's check the daily. Yeah, so on the daily as well, you can see how you had right there the bottom formation, green hill, bottom formation. Okay, and then if I take you to the 8-hour chart, you can see you don't have this bomb signal because we don't have engulfing PA, but you're having a lot of triangle, and they're not as strong. But when you're getting many of them at the same time, usually they're very strong. So you can see that you're getting these extreme side of all of the bottom. So even on this one, right, so if this would take, that would be on the extreme. So this whole PA, right, showed you decent buy signals, and you see what happened afterwards. Okay, so I think it's very good, extremely good indicator. Let's check the 4-hour chart. Yeah, so on the 4-hour you're getting a combination with a few bombs. Okay, so look at these ones, right? So you have, this is a buy signal, just even for a scalp, right? You can see how these scalps sessions would work perfectly as well. Okay, this one, and then you're having the bomb slightly later as well. Each of these gives you bottom signals. All right, so enough about this. Hope you got something out of this video, guys. Let's talk later. Peace out.